Perfect. Tyler, with your cards.
My comfort object up in here. I got my shiny ones out for this one.
I love it. Love it. Awesome. Okay, guys. Is everybody in? Yeah. Can you guys hear me? For some reason, Katie Good and Rachel Vaughn are the only people I can see. So you'll have to head nod. Okay, good deal. Thank you guys for being on. Happy Tuesday. I've thought all day was Thursday today. No clue why. Just been totally out of my days today. I'm really, really excited about the panel for you guys today, and just appreciate everybody taking the time to be on. I am passionate about finding the best of the best to be able to bring to real estate entrepreneurs. And today we have those people for you guys to talk about building a brand and social media. I'm going to just let everybody just intro themselves really quickly. And then we kind of have a little agenda of things where I'm going to go through with everybody. However, if you have questions, just please type them in the chat, and then I'm going to try to fill them as we go. We are also recording, and so we'll send everybody the recording afterwards, so you can go back and rewatch whatever you need to if you have questions on that. So let's just get started. Thank you guys, panelists, for being on today. I appreciate you. I feel like we just have the prettiest little group of all four of you guys. All four of you guys. Olivia, will you go first and just tell everybody who you are and where you are and all the things?
Yes, and bear with me, I'm under the weather today, so my voice normally does not sound like this.
That's okay. You and me too, so go for it.
But yeah, I'm Olivia Pruitt, and I am originally from Danville, Kentucky. I graduated from UK last spring, but now I live down on 30A, which is in Florida. It sits right between Destin and Panama City, also known as Santa Rosa Beach. So I work in real estate for England Volkers. We do Destin all the way to PCB, but my team focuses a lot on 30A. So I'm with the Blankenship Group. We did $550 million last year in sold and pending. So our marketing and the way we do things is top notch. So I'm excited to kind of share some insight of that today.
Thank you for saying that. And two things. One, does anybody else want to live on 30A besides me? Raise your hand.
Well, y'all come on down. I'll find you a house.
It is like probably my favorite place on the planet. And I've always said, yes, one day definitely we'll have a house there. So I stalk your stories, one, just because I love you. And two, because every day I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just, everything's beautiful and perfect.
I wake up every day so grateful, but it's
awesome. It's awesome. Okay. Tyler, also known as TT.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I make videos and I take pictures for people. I make content for Dana and her company, Dana and Co, as I call them. And I'm from Indianapolis, and I tried real estate. I hated it and quit.
There you go. And he's a avid card addict as well.
I also am very much into a lot of different hobbies.
Race cars. Playing cards, you name it. Yes. Okay, awesome. Caitlin?
Hey everyone, I'm Dana Gentry. I am originally from the Lexington, Kentucky area and live in Charleston now, South Carolina, but I run Dana's Keller Williams One Team Capper Concierge program. So I do social media for about 50 people. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. Thank you. 50 top agents that are awesome. Okay, Curtis.
Hi, I'm Curtis. I am an agent here in Richmond. I have Rose Kelly and Associates, and yeah, I love social media, so I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay, good deal. Okay, now that you guys know who everybody is, also I put at the end, we'll put it in the chat too, but also on the email that I think everyone got from me, I included screenshots of all of their Instagrams. So make sure that you're going and following all of them, because one of the best things that you can do, in my opinion, is go watch what other people are doing. I think it's great when you watch them not in your area, so you can get some different ideas too. Okay, so let's first, and this is just like open, this first one, so whoever wants to answer it, why are we doing this? Like, why is social media so important, especially now? Maybe Tyler, you should go first on this one. Now versus like even 3 or 5 years ago. And combined with that question, are you all passionate about it and you love it, or do you do it because you have to for your business? Let's start with that.
Well, so yeah, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with it. I would say I have mixed emotions about social media. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's a good dopamine fix when you get a bunch of likes on something, a lot of good engagement. Other times when it doesn't and you have a post flop, you're like, why am I even doing this? And then, so I'm kind of all over the place with it. So currently I'm going through a phase where I'm like really into it, but then I imagine in about 30 days, ask me again, I might be kind of into it. But I would say the importance of it, I really think doesn't really matter what you post. I think it's just about showing up. If that's like the end goal, you can kind of stick to a theme if that helps you with posting consistently. I'd say with the word consistency, doesn't necessarily even have to mean posting every day. I would say for me,
hold consistency, because I have that as a whole separate question.
cool. And it's really just there's so many ways to use social media now. And so by interacting with people like in stories or just posting stories is one way to stay consistent with it, but also enjoy it a little bit more where you're not having to like post something every single day or think of something. And it's just an easy way to kind of give people a behind the scenes look into your life. And I think that is kind of like where social media originated from, was this voyeuristic point of view with people kind of wanting to see what you do with what you do. And when you can kind of share that and kind of relay your authentic experience in life with other people, sometimes they relate to it, sometimes they don't. And when they do, you end up kind of making a lot more friends in the online world than you do in the real world sometimes.
Yeah, that's so true. Tyler, what's your preferred method or platform? I'm sorry.
Email. I'm just kidding. I would say Instagram stories. I feel like I enjoy that level of like, I get to talk with a lot of people. I get a lot more engagement with it.
Yeah.
A lot of people that might not want to comment on a post will definitely respond to it in stories. And so I feel like you get a unique and more authentic conversations created in that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Curtis.
I'm just going to be the first one to say, in my opinion, why social media is important. I think that if you're not doing social media at a high level in the next 5 years, you're either going to see a huge dip in your business or you're not going to be in business, because that is where relationships are built. And that is where people get to know who you are and why they want to work with you versus someone else. I love Instagram. Instagram is my preferred platform of any of them. And yeah, if there's one thing that you should know, if you're not on social media and you're not using it at a high level, your business is going to see that.
I remember when MySpace came out and everybody was like, does anybody else remember that? And everybody was like, what in the world? And then it was like, then Facebook, and then it was like, there are constant things coming out. And I think it's important, like you're going to hear all of them. Well, probably you're going to hear all of them probably say Instagram the most, I'm going to assume. But I think also it has to be what you're actually going to do and what works for you. Caitlin or Olivia, whoever wants to go next, what do you guys think? And what's your preferred platform?
I think Tyler and Curtis, touched on a lot of the points, but for me personally, Instagram is for sure my favorite platform. But I do think you have to decide what platform you want to dominate on and run with that. So like some of the older crowd, it might actually be Facebook. Because I feel like a lot of older people are on Facebook more than Instagram. But I do prefer Instagram post, probably the best for me.
Post, yeah. Actually, I'm glad that you said that, because I think I shared this before. But when Instagram came out, we went hot and heavy on Instagram, and I kind of just gave up, not gave up, but I didn't find Facebook as fun anymore. And so we stopped, and our real estate business the next year dropped like right around 30% from our social media, because I forgot that most of our clients were all on Facebook and they weren't on Instagram yet. And we were not interacting as much on Facebook, and it definitely showed for sure. Yeah. Olivia, what would you say?
Yeah, I agree with Tyler. Like, if you're not on social media within the next few years, like, your business will die out. I see that a lot down here in my market. There's a ton of agents down here for such a small area, but a lot of them are, older or not used to using social media or taking advantage of it. But the thing is, it has such a great reach. Like, you have no idea who's going to see that post. So for me, I really like Instagram, but I also really love TikTok. My TikTok kind of just, if your video takes off, the algorithm is so weird. Like, you will gain so many followers so quickly, like overnight. So because of TikTok, like, I started in real estate in September, but now I have $5 million deals just from TikTok buyers. So that's crazy. You never know who's going to see it. And more so, even if it's not the specific buyer that sees your post. For example, the buyer that I'm working with now, her son saw it. So he showed his parents, and they're in Texas, and who would have thought, $3 million cash buyer. So that you never know who's going to see what. And I think so many people put a pressure on like just posting like just real estate content or just, houses or that kind of thing. But you can totally be yourself. People love to see a personality behind a face. And I think that's the shift between the traditional way of advertising versus nowadays. You can see, what that person's about, and you're not just hustling for a check. You're a real person, and they connect with you a lot better.
So Olivia, I want to pause on that really fast, because one of the things I wrote down for you, so your team sold 550 million last year, and you moved there. And I mean, maybe you knew some people, but you're not from there. And a lot of people move places where they're not from. And I feel like personally, when I look at your social media, that it's part of your lifestyle. I feel like you have made your real estate business there and your brand, it's all kind of part of your lifestyle. And that was one of the things that I wrote down. Like, what would you say to that? And how have you done that? Because I know we have people on who've moved somewhere where they're not from, and they freak out about not starting a business.
Yeah, well, I moved here not knowing a soul. The first person I met was my boss. So literally didn't know anybody, no connections, that kind of thing. And it was just every day I'm learning so much and having to go out and meet people to connect that way. But yeah, it totally makes a difference. And I think for my market specifically, like, I'm posting on my stories and trying to tag local businesses and that kind of thing to really sell the lifestyle here. Like, oh, you want to live on 30A, or you want a vacation here, that kind of thing. So you just want to make it, something that everyone wants or desirable, because what you're selling, hopefully you're authentically like believing in that house, or, whatever that might be product wise in sales.
How important do you all think it is to do the thing, to post the things that are authentic to you, I guess is the best way to say it?
10 million%.
Yeah. I think it shows up when you look at people's stuff and it's not authentic,
Yeah. And even if you're just in a house and you want to do like an Instagram story of, hey, I'm hanging out at such and such address, you've got to see this kitchen, like just small little snippets of that. People love to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I love the way that you just said that, because for me, I will see some agents who are like very, very, very scripted in what they're going to say in their video, but you have to throw your personality in there, and you have to be like, you've got to see this kitchen. Like, it's dope. Like, something that's like, not like, oh, this is the most immaculate kitchen you've ever seen, we're featuring blah, 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 blah. Like, be yourself how you would normally talk. You should talk on social media like you're talking to your best friends.
When it comes
Great point. Yeah, that's Tyler. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you guys a question about leveraging it out. Do you feel like you can convey and scale your voice by hiring somebody to do what you do on social media?
So actually, Tyler, that's a great question because I had written that down because Caitlin, everyone that you are doing for, they're leveraging it out to you. So how do you post for them when it's not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So a lot of the people, I do take quite a bit of time for the onboarding process just so I can really get to know the agent well and what they want to put out on social media, whether it's like the local expert or like what to do in the community, all of those things, like really decide what's important to them. And then also too, I take a lot of time of like creeping back to their old post and learn how they write because I want it to sound like them still. So I just do a lot of research by that way, just like looking back at old things and try and do that same stuff.
Yeah.
And add like a little twist to it.
I love that. I think the key is if you are going to leverage it, you need to make sure that, well, like I'm not really into these like companies per se that you can just pay monthly to do drop content for you, because I think that goes back to everything that we just said. Are you going to show up? Yes. Is it going to be you and authentic and real and something that you're connecting with people on? Probably not. So I think when you are leveraging it, you need to make sure that it's with the right who, and that it's somebody that is going to get to know you and your brand and how you talk. Just like Caitlin said, is so important because how I talk on Instagram is probably different than how Tyler talks on Instagram, and people would know the difference. So I think that's a really, really great point.
Also too, if you do leverage it out, make sure you're still interacting with the people commenting and posting on it, if that's not part of the service that you're paying somebody to do, because that's one of the biggest, most important parts of social media is the interaction. So like comment back to people or share it to your personal page, things like that.
Yeah. So actually that walks me into another great question that I just thought of. And actually I didn't even have this one written down, but we always hear don't post and ghost. So how do you guys interact? Like, how do you find the time? How much do you interact when you do post? Because I've been trying to be much more intentional with going back when I posting something when I know that I have time to go back and look through it. Because if you just post and you never respond to anybody's comments, the algorithms are not going to push you up to the top. So how do you guys do that?
My opinion is I don't respond to anything until at least a few hours has went by, because then that's probably about the time that the algorithm is bringing you back down and like not pushing your content as hard. But then once you start interacting and you start, more comments get on the video or more views and people are coming back to that post to look at the comments, the algorithm notices that and pushes you to the top. So I'm not going to wait 2 or 3 days, but I am going to wait anytime in a 24-hour period after a few hours.
Yep. Love that. Olivia or Tyler?
That's probably an area that I'm not great at, I'll be honest.
Do you post and ghost?
I don't post and ghost, but I'm not like an immediate responder. Now with my stories, I'm a little bit better to responding to like a quick DM or that kind of thing. It's so funny. I think the first question you were like, do you love or hate social media? Or I think Tyler mentioned,
are you passionate about it?
Yeah, you go through stages. And I don't know what it is about Instagram, but as soon as I post something, I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at my phone for a while. I don't know why. But yeah, it does totally make a difference though if you are responding, and it's noticeable when I do. So that is something I have to improve.
Yeah. I think Tyler, you were the one that really taught me to like make sure I go back and interact with the people.
Be social on social media. That's like the
Love
whole point
that.
of it is to communicate with people. So just be social on it, no matter how. Just do it.
Yep. Love that. Trying to drop some of these great nuggets in the chat. Okay. Okay. How much do you guys post, or what do you recommend, personal versus business and professional? Whoever.
Business and professional for me, I just my opinion on that is it is, if you have 2 separate pages, like on Instagram for me, like my post on Instagram are just to make my feed look pretty when people go look at it. I don't care when I post or what I post, but that's not where I have most of my followers at. Most of my followers, and they get my true personality and come to Curtis from my personal page. But I think it's important to have the business Instagram or the business Facebook. But I think that those are more so generic posts that a lot of people probably don't want to see. Like, they probably don't care about what you just sold and they don't care about things like that. But I think it's still important to put it out there.
Yeah. Type in the chat, yes, if you think it matters what people's grids look like when you go and look at their pages. I would just love to hear. I'm just curious to see. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Because I mean, that's like the first thing that I notice when I look at somebody's social media, for sure. Yeah. Olivia or whoever, sorry, I'm not
Sure.
doing it in good order.
No, I think personalization to your brand is so important. So like, even though I'm on a team, it's the Blankenship group, like their logo, our social media manager puts it on all of our social media posts. And at the end of the day, she sends it in a Dropbox link and she's like, hey, repost this. But what I do, I've created my own logo, and then I have Blankenship group right under my name. And then I just kind of apply that to any of the posts that I want to post with, the branding. So, you don't have to lose yourself in it. And then it can also be, your own thing. And I think it was kind of a spinoff of what was said earlier about, the whole being scripted, that's out. Like, if you're going to be scripted, everyone's going to be saying the same thing, if you're not trying to be different. And that goes to show with your feed as well. Like, if you hire out someone, like these companies that don't know you, don't know how you type or, how you're communicating something, it's not going to sound like you. And chances are they're doing that for 500 other realtors from wherever. So if someone looks on your page and they're like, oh, that's the same thing so-and-so sharing, I mean, what's the point of really following it, So
Yep.
we think it's important.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's
If you
advocate.
don't follow Olivia, you need to follow her because her brand is unmatched on
It
social
is.
media.
Yeah.
Well,
It 100% is. Yes.
I need to get better about, like we said, consistently posting. I do better on my stories, I think, than putting
Your
out
stories are like lights out.
Social media takes so much time. It really does. So when I'm not, actually working, I'm like, okay, let me sit down and do the social media stuff. But I will say, like, some great resources to take advantage of and use. I wrote these down. So
Yes.
Canva.
Yep.
I think everyone kind of knows about Canva, but if you don't, that's great resource for any type of digital design. It makes it so simple. I think I pay $6 a month for the premium and it's so worth it. So that's where I created my logo. You can do any of that.
And Olivia, not to interrupt you, but really fast, we are doing one of our next trainings and events in May is all around Canva. So Abby's going to do a huge Canva for like those of you that don't know how to do it, all the way up to those of you that just want to get better at it. And Canva is, I mean, I use it, Caitlin uses it, Olivia, Curtis, you use it, Tyler, I don't know if you do, or Kate probably does. But yeah, okay, awesome. So Canva, what else?
So worth it. Splice is really good for video editing if you just want to do something quick. It's super simple. You just put in the videos, and video editing is completely over my head, but it's so basic. Like, you just drag it, remove it, whatever. Snapseed or Google Snapseed is really good for photos.
What does that do? I've never heard of that.
It's just a photo editing app. So I just like play with the lighting, and what you can do is save like basically a preset and just use it on all of your photos. So your feed, starts to look like
Lightroom. Like, I use Lightroom.
Yeah. It's really similar. I'd never used Lightroom besides for a few things, but Google Snapseed's simple app on your phone, and I mean, maybe Lightroom's similar, but that's what I would recommend. Also, Preview or Plannerly. Preview is like, you can log into your Instagram account, drag photos, see what looks good, what you want to post next, that kind of thing. And Plannerly is the same thing, but you can schedule out your posts. So if you want stories going out at a certain time, you want a post going out, you put in the caption. It's such a good resource to do, or take advantage of at the end of each month or the start of a new week. And that way you're just shooting it out and not having to worry about it or think about it.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I think I just had like use hashtags, because where you can follow hashtags on Instagram now, I don't think people realize how many people actually follow hashtags. So like hashtag share the Lex, for example, in Lexington, like tons of people follow that. Like take advantage of that, because your post is going to go into everyone's feed that follows that.
See, I kind of got away from hashtags. That's making me think. I don't know why. I think just for time purposes.
Yeah. Well,
Never remember
what I've done is just write out all of the hashtags that I
Yeah.
would use. And then I just go into my notes page and
Copy and paste them. Yeah.
But there's also another trick. So when you go to post, let me pull it up to make sure I'm saying exactly right. So there's
Don't you guys love these tricks and tips, by the way. You all better be writing these down.
If you don't want to post all of the hashtags in the caption, what you can do is go to your new post and then write it. Why is my phone being weird? But basically, if this doesn't work, okay. So once you get to like the share, hopefully, I don't know if you can even see that. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a little button down here that says alternative or advanced settings. So if you go to that, there's a thing that says accessibility and write alternative text. So I just copy and paste all of the hashtags into the alternative text. You can't see it on the post, but it flows into the feed because people follow it.
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea. Okay, so one more time, when you're getting ready to hit share on the post, go to advanced settings and then alternative text, and then drop your hashtags there.
Yeah, you can literally hashtag.
And where do they go? And then where do they go?
It's like invisible, but it shows up on the feed. Yeah.
So it's only visible or read by people who are reading on screen readers. So no one's using that except for like maybe like blind people who it's describing the picture to them.
Okay.
That's what text is.
Okay.
But also, please don't use hashtags if you're going to put them in your caption. Please don't use hashtags that are like generic or relevant to you, because your hashtag should be relevant to your local market or your target audience. No one's hashtagging the Rose group and following the hashtag. It's
right.
not.
Right. So using your hashtags more for community purposes or to show up more in other things where they're actually searching the hashtags. Okay. Yes. Okay. Planoly. Thank you, Mandy and Rachel. I think Stephanie, hopefully that helped. Is it an app or is it just on the website?
Planoly?
Yeah. Yeah.
App.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Tyler, you were going to say something, but you might've forgotten it, but I was nervous because you said, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
So as far as the grid goes, one benefit of doing a grid and focusing on your grid is it gives you structure, and it can kind of give you an outline of what to post and when to post it and like what's next to post. I think that's one benefit to it. My question for you guys was, when you go to somebody's profile and you typically will see something that it sparks your interest to their profile, what happens next if they don't have a pretty grid?
I kind of think like as long as it's consistent with like the same preset stuff like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the grid that was super popular a year ago, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like as long as your theme stays consistent, it's fine.
I think if you just like your pictures look pretty, like whenever I say grid, I don't mean like, oh, I have to have a text box here and a text box here, or these four things make one picture. Like, I just mean like exactly what Caitlin just said, staying consistent with like your presets and your lighting and your filter, like all of that.
I don't know if I can do this, but I just want to do this really fast in case those of you did not see the email. And I'm going to go like really basic, because there could be people on that actually don't know what a grid is. So when we say grid, we're talking about how all of your squares show up. I mean, Tyler, yours is has gotten like really consistent and looks really, really, really good. Olivia, yours always, I mean, I feel like
My real estate page looks way better than my personal, I think.
does it? I liked your, I
Yeah.
think your personal looks really good. Curtis, one of the things I want you to talk about, I told you, so we might hit that in just a second. But yours
No, I
is like
edited my grid
everything
this
looks,
morning, so
what'd you say?
I edited my grid this morning and took that mirror picture off because it was throwing the whole thing off.
Oh my gosh. See, I thought it looked great. Caitlin's is always same, very similar presets. Mine is probably the worst and more all over the place, but more for time purposes, but also that's just me. And if you know me, that's just how I am. But I do think that there's like, I agree. I think that that they have to kind of look a certain way. And somebody did say, let's see, hold on. You usually click off and look elsewhere. So Stephanie said, what else makes a grid? So what makes a grid attractive to someone? And I think it's what we just said, like it's clean, it's consistent. The filters or the lighting are kind of all the same. Tyler, would you add anything else to that?
Really the main thing that I would emphasize on a grid would be if you have anything where like with
Themed.
thumbnail, you're going to want to just put text. That's like the main thing that I really just want people to see on mine is if I'm thinking about it for that video in general. So I'm not necessarily thinking about it as much for photos, but I'm thinking about
So
what's
you
the
mean,
thumbnail going to
are
be.
you talking
So
about this, like how your
yeah, so you
shows
can
up?
kind of see what that is if you come to it, and it almost kind of creates some kind of curiosity from that. As far as like the looks of it, you can see I go from black and white to color to a deck of cards. So I don't necessarily have like a total structure going on with it, but I do think it's important to have, if you want to implement text into it, I do think that, and captions, that's a whole other thing. But as far as the grid concerned, I was just curious where you guys were, what your thoughts were on that. I've gotten feedback from all ranges, like what we described. So I was just curious, like what happens when you go to somebody's profile and then.
So it was interesting though, that you just said that about the text, and I'm kind of squirreling a little bit, but I just went back and looked on mine and I had heard you say that. And normally I just have pictures, or upcoming events or pictures of my dog or Caitlin's son, Graham. However, I heard you say that and I did one with the words on it. And I had like instantly 351 likes within like a very short amount of time. And honestly, the lighting wasn't even good in that picture, but I just wanted to try it with the text, and it hit. I mean, people were commenting and liking like right away. So I think it's like visually it catches your attention maybe that way.
Gives you an idea of what to expect on their profile in a way by reading it rather than just assuming it's these elegant pictures laid out.
That's a really good hack too for TikTok. So there's been all of these people trying to study in on what makes a TikTok like blow up on the algorithm because it's so unpredictable. And what they found is that 7 seconds and writing on the screen will blow it up, because 7 seconds, people are still trying to read it. And they're also trying to, watch the video too. So
likely they're going back, like
it's just going to keep replaying, and they're going to watch it at least 2 or 3 times to really get it.
Oh,
so because of that, it's getting more interactions, and TikTok is pushing it up. They're like, oh, people are watching it, triple the amount. It must be good. So
yeah, that is, wow. Okay. That's news to me. I just wrote that down. I want to not skip through. Hold on. One question that I got privately. Where's the best place to find your local and popular hashtags?
What are your local and popular coffee shops? What are your local and popular, like you can search hashtags relevant to Richmond, Kentucky and Google, and like it's local businesses. Like we have My Richmond, they have Share the Lex, things like that. But people are also following like popular coffee shops and popular destinations in your market.
Yeah, and look, see what they're following too. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
And I think too, tagging your location at the top is super important, because I do that all the time. Just like finding things in Charleston or wherever I'm at by just clicking on the location. So I also got a private message. What about someone who doesn't like their pictures? How do you post?
That was one of my questions at the end, because I know some of you are going to be like that. Can Curtis answer that one?
The things that you don't want to post are the things that you should post.
I knew you were
You
going to
might
say
not like your pictures, but that's what you look like. So post it, because that's what people notice and that's what people see. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to edit mine, but
So of all 5 of us right now, who raise your hand if you edit your photos before you post them. Tyler,
I got videos that I edit. Yeah.
but like, do you edit the lighting and make it, all that, right? Or do you
Let me
post
look at
all
mine.
or do you post all natural?
I'm trying to think if I actually post
Okay.
photos. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, you have the lighting down so good though, Tyler. You really don't have to do much.
That is a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah. So like all the last things that I've done are all videos. So I guess, yeah. So there's a black and white filter on one of them. So yeah, I edit them.
Tyler, you had a great comment though. Stephanie said the camera loves Curtis. That's hilarious. So someone asked if your grid isn't the greatest right now. Do you start over with a clean slate or build up starting now? And Tyler said, don't start over. Just be mindful moving forward. 100%, because you've already got some sort of content. So just make it good. Start it.
archive the ones that aren't the best though. Like, you can keep the ones that are okay, but like if they're really bad, archive it. It still stays in the algorithm.
Oh,
Just
okay. I didn't know that.
Don't
Okay,
delete
that's
it,
good.
archive it.
What else Caitlin, would you add anything to if you don't love pictures of yourself or pictures?
I mean, not really. I just think it's so important to put yourself on your social media and not just be posting like homes all the time or tips. So, no.
I think people want to work. They want to see you, honestly. I mean, I paid like several $100 a couple years ago to take a class from Jenna Kutcher. And she has a podcast called the Gold Digger Podcast. And her social media stuff is like lights out. So she said, the importance of them being able to see the whites in your eye, like that close, that there's all these stats around like being so close that they can see the whites in your eye. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a little like crazy. And it's true. And also she said, I'll never forget this. She said, when you're really building your social media and your online presence, she said, you're going to feel like a narcissist because it's like, you're like, oh my gosh, another picture of me, another picture of me, another picture of me. The reality is that that's what works. And I think, like Curtis, one of the things that we talked about that I really wanted you to touch on is, I heard Gary Keller say probably 3 years ago, in every successful business, there's an interesting character. And that is meaning that there's somebody that people are drawn to or attracted to, not like sexually, but you know what I mean? Like they're attracted to that.
Too, but
maybe that too, but they're attracted to an interesting character. And I think when you look at a lot of our stuff and that, like, it's what works. They're drawn, like Tyler, I'm just going to throw this out there. Since you've been like really beefing it up and posting like the, what do you call them? Thirst traps.
Don't act like you don't know what it's called.
Posting the thirst traps in the gym and all the things. So many people have reached out to me and been like, dang, Tyler is like blowing it up on social media. Like, look at TT and all his postings, because now you've become this interesting character that people want to watch and follow. And I think that there's a lot that has to do with that. And so, like, Curtis, did you have, you may not be the right person to ask.
Go ahead.
Did you have like angst about posting only you all the time on your feed, or are you like, this feels weird, or what?
Actually, yeah, like, and still it does feel weird sometimes. I used to really, really care about what people thought or think that I needed to like tame my personality down because of what other people were thinking. And that's true. They are thinking that. There are people who are like, oh, wow, he's probably arrogant. Wow, he's very shallow as a person. But if you know me, like, you know, that's not how I am. But I love nice things. I don't apologize for that. And that's who I am. That's who you get whenever you get Curtis. So that's what I'm going to give you on social media as well. So give them you. And if they like you, those are your people. If they don't, that's perfectly fine. Those aren't your people.
And one thing too about the photos, and what I like about doing the content photo shoots with Capper Concierge and Dana's offices, is find what makes you comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like posting a headshot every time.
No.
Like, get some, like Olivia's profile is so like lifestyle, and
Yeah.
you're not just like taking a smiling picture all the time. Like, just figure out what makes you comfortable in those photos and post things like that.
I totally agree with that. And I think there's something to that too. I recently posted that selfie with that baby blue Bentley, and it, like, people were texting me, and like it totally blew up, because there's something to that, like, different kind of lifestyle. I mean, I guess
That's not what normal people are seeing on their feed.
yeah, I think
You're
that's
different.
what it is.
You're
I mean, that's not my car, but people still were very, it was, yeah. Olivia, would you add anything to that? Because I feel like you're so good at all that.
Oh goodness, that's so kind, because I get very anxious too. Not so much with my real estate page, because I know that's what the content people are expecting. But with my own, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's normal to feel like, oh my gosh, what are they thinking? Even some of the things that I post, like real estate related, like my team's so funny. Like there's 12 of us on the team, and some of them are older, and they'll be like, ha, like, just like joking about it. And even though it's a joke, I'm like, oh my goodness, should I not have posted that? But at the end of the day, it's not me posting it trying to be super cool or something that I'm not. It's because people interact with that kind of thing, and that's what pushes it. So I just have to, keep reminding myself of that.
Yeah, totally. One thing I really love about your stuff is you also, like, you're good about posting your business and your lifestyle stuff, but you also post personal things. Like, you post a lot about your faith. And I think when you just are like, you're posting things that are true to you and you're unapologetic about it, that's what draws people to you, no matter what it is. And I think I love that. I think that's awesome.
That should be everyone's word of the year, unapologetic.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
Well, I see a question that said, should they combine their personal and
oh yes, yeah. What
social
would you say
media?
on that?
And I mean, like, I just recently started my separate Instagram for real estate, because to be honest, now that I'm working like full time around the clock, I don't really have time just to push out content on my main page. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's just going to become straight real estate, which I was like, I don't want to lose myself within that. So I still, I'm reposting like to my story what I posted on my real estate page. And it's a little mix. Like, I put the house tours on my page, or I have, but yeah, I think it's totally up to you. If you don't care to, have it all real estate related.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. But I think a good mix is just something.
Yeah.
It can be little hints of real estate as well. Like, even if the picture has nothing to do with real estate, like drop a little house in your caption. Like,
yeah, definitely.
like, people read those and people realize that. And Dana, what you say all the time, TOMA, top of mind awareness, like that's all it boils down to.
Yeah. Tyler, I felt like were you trying to say something?
No.
Okay. So Tyler, talk to us about Reels.
What do you want to know about Reels?
Do we need to be doing them more than stories? Any tips or advice, or, like, for instance, I know you helped Heath Green do some of his for his Airbnb stuff, and they've been totally blowing up. And I feel like I even see them more than his regular posts now. What would you add about that?
So kind of flashback to 2016 when Facebook introduced video and the autoplay feature. That's what Reels is doing. So obviously videos will autoplay in your Instagram feed, but when you would share a video into your Instagram feed, or your story, it wouldn't autoplay. You'd have to like rely on somebody to click on it to then watch it, which doesn't happen very often. So with Reels, it autoplays in stories now. And so that's why you'll even see some pictures that are basically Reels now. And they're like 1 second Reels, but the algorithm's pushing Reels more than they're even pushing pictures. And so I follow a lot of meme accounts. And so a lot of those I'm like referencing aren't appropriate for this setting, but you'll see a lot of them. And it's kind of annoying because like it goes away really quick, but it's there, which means like if World Star is doing that, then other media outlets are also doing that. And so Reels will autoplay in stories, makes it very shareable. Also, in this ADHD culture that we're in, shorter the better, kind of like what Olivia was talking about earlier with that first 7 seconds. I've had multiple Reels get over 100,000 views that literally was like 7 seconds, and that was it. So it's when I've seen that in different industries as well. And so it's the shorter it is, the better it is, and like the better it performs. I posted a reel the other night and it was like 30 seconds and I was like really bored watching my own reel. I was like, why did I do that? But it was, so I have found success with like 10-second videos doing a lot better, especially if you can match up a lot of it with like a trending sound as well. That is just kind of what I've noticed. And then having a hook in the very beginning. So 3 things that I wish I knew when I started, whatever.
Yeah, you're really good at that. You're really good at the hooks. Wait, will you explain to them what a hook is in case they don't know?
Yep. So a hook. My personal trainer and we make a lot of content for him and his personal training. And so one thing that he did on his own was I'll film the whole video for him. And then he'll add him like after a workout when he's like all sweaty. He's like, here's what I wish I knew before I started working out or something. That's his hook. And then it cuts away to the footage that we have of what we basically batch created. And then those videos on TikTok got over 1 million views. And then he's got several others that had 50, 60, 100,000 views. And it's all because what I give that credit to is that initial hook in the very beginning that gets you that 30-second or that 3-second view where it's like, oh, he's about to tell me this. And then so even if they don't stick around for the whole thing, they stick around and at least get that answer. And that's a good way to hook somebody into watching a video. You can do that by doing lists. Like here's 5 things that I wish I did when I started real estate. Here's 3 places to visit in Lexington if you like this. Basically kind of like giving them an idea of like how long they're going to have to commit to watching a video, and making that video relatively quick makes it a lot more engaging. But I'd be curious kind of like what you guys have also seen from it.
You know who's really great at that is our friend Ken Pozek in Orlando, Florida. If you aren't following Ken Pozek, Pozek, he crushes it. He moved to Orlando and didn't know one soul, and they sold, I don't know, 150 million, I think, last year in Orlando. After him being there for 4 years, he started a team, and he did it all through YouTube and social media. However, he hit it from doing the hooks in the beginning. 5 places that you must visit in Orlando, 5 best tips when you're going to Disney World, you know, the 3 best places to eat a funnel cake. I mean, whatever it is, over and over and over. And I mean, they get so much traffic. It's ridiculous. Olivia, I think you were going to add something.
Yeah. So the hooks are really important because I feel like on top of the pretty feed and whatnot, people it could be as pretty as it gets, but it has to also provide value or give someone value. So if you're doing 7 seconds of, I don't know, 3 tips I knew before selling my house or before putting it on the market, if you're giving like the most basic, we might think it's basic advice, but for someone who doesn't know or think real estate perspective, like that's important to them. And they're thinking, oh, they're giving me this knowledge for free. Like, what if I work with them? Like, what more can I know? And longer than just 7 seconds, you know? So people engage with that really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
I have 2 questions. One, well, let's first go off what she was just saying. I was making, I guess last year, some videos that I thought was super basic information. I felt uncomfortable putting them on social media because it was just, to me, it was like no value. But I had so many people in public that I didn't even know come up to me and be like, hey, those videos are super helpful. Like, keep doing those. You're killing it. And I'm like, wow, I did not even realize that that was even reaching people. And then
Yeah.
2, do you feel like YouTube is still a thing? Like, is that still a beneficial platform to be on? Because that's a genuine question.
I think 1,000% yes.
If I had it my way and I got rid of all social media, I would only be on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then also KB Realty and Allie was asking about teams and like how to include them and engage them. I think the Matty Oak group does a really good
I was
job.
going to say that too, Curtis.
Takeover Tuesdays.
Yep.
That's
That's
what
the
you
way to do it. Yeah.
let everyone meet your team on Takeover Tuesdays. And I think that's genius.
Also,
Yeah.
I have a brilliant idea that I've pitched to many teams and nobody has actually followed through on it. So I'm just going to shamelessly plug this idea that I've been plugging for 3 years. Have a
Uh-oh.
GoPro, pass the GoPro around the team for a day, or give 2 GoPros, give one to an office person and give one to an agent on the field, have them film their days, send the footage to me. I edit it. And then you can have this like unique inside look of what this real estate team's doing. And it's scalable because you can just, everybody can just send it, upload it, and edit it.
Yeah.
I've pitched this idea for 3 years now. Nobody's done it.
Well, everybody's getting
Yes.
ready to.
I'm waiting. I think it's the most unique way to get across like what your team's about in such a easy way where you don't have to edit it then. It's
Tyler,
just-
put your email in the chat. So if anybody wants it, they can have it.
I'll do Kate's email.
Or Kate's email. Okay, perfect. How do you get those on your team that are a bit on the older side on board with social media? I mean,
You just don't. Just don't.
yeah.
It's a fight. Why have the fight? If they just don't want to be, just don't. Just like, why?
Olivia,
Sorry, I'm
do you
just-
guys do anything?
Yeah, so our marketing department creates, our whatever we're pushing out on social media that day, the stories, the post, and what they'll just do is send it. We'll kind of swing it back to the question of how do we incorporate the whole team into it. If you want to create like a brand for your team, like just post that out on your all's team page. And then like what we do is we just send it to everyone in the Dropbox link so we can just repost it. So you stick with a certain font, people, can see that flow. And then everyone else has the same content to share. Like I said, I do something a little bit different and I put my logo on things,
Yeah.
but that's just the easiest way if it's created and if the older people are at least trying or wanting to try, then they have it already done for them and it's simple. They just can post it right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Okay. I know we only have 6 minutes. I feel like there's so much more to go over. So we may have to have a part 2 of this. Caitlin, will you just touch on actually like a plan, like the important, like, do they need a plan? Should they just wing it? A mix of both? Like, what do you think about that?
I think if you don't know what you're doing or like are trying to get started, you definitely need a plan. I think a lot of those apps that Olivia was talking about are super helpful to get things planned out. You can just kind of like take a day and get everything scheduled out. I use the social media scheduler platform that's on the desktop. It's not an app or anything. So I think about what days you want to post, what you want to post, and just knock it out so you don't have to think about it anymore. I think if you're experienced with social media, then you don't really need to have a plan. You can kind of do like your day-to-day stuff because I think people are super intrigued about like what's going on in your life on a daily basis. So I think it's just your experience level.
And I think that's a really good point. And I think too, it's your time frame. Like if you're really busy, and actually, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this? Is it okay to like be really posty for 3 days and then you have 2 busy days and you post nothing? Or does that screw it all up?
That's been my strategy for like 4 years. So I'd run with it.
Yeah.
You can definitely listen to people like Brock Johnson. He's a really good social media coach. He is all about like post 3-4 times a day because it just comes so naturally to him. It doesn't come as natural to so many people. And so I mostly post about decks of cards and things that I'm into and race cars on another account. because that's just fun content for me to make. And it's a
Right.
way just to kind of like play with social media. And so actually then it helps me actually post things. If you don't have that and you don't have a hobby, I'd first get a hobby. But if you want to make content around anything, find your start making it around what you're interested in as far as like a hobby is concerned. And then do that for a little while and see how that goes. And then maybe start incorporating in some of like, oh, by the way, I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I would definitely go that route, because then you'll realize it comes a lot more natural to you, and then you get excited about it, and then you're able to start.
Well, you might have just answered my last two questions. I just wanted to quick fire really fast. Advice for someone starting. So that would be good. Curtis, anything you would say for advice for someone just starting?
What makes you happy? Like, take a picture with what makes you happy, or what you're doing when you're your happiest,
Mhm.
and let your true smile or emotion show in that picture, and that's it.
Yeah. Yep. Caitlin, someone just starting.
Yeah, I think just get really comfortable about like telling your story, and just like keep doing that, because that's how you can really interact with the most people, is just like be yourself. And yeah.
Yeah. Olivia?
I think what everyone else said, and then also like if you're having, I don't know, a tough time trying to get in your head what you want to come out of it, find someone on social media that you like their content and you're like, okay, that inspires me.
Yeah.
I want to do something similar. So if you can see a vision for yourself, it makes it way easier to create and decide content to push out.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say just start.
Yeah.
Like, don't overanalyze it. Don't be a get ready for a perfect grid or post. Like, just do it and get it out there and improve on it. Tyler, what advice would you give someone who already has a great following, but they want to next level it? If you guys could think about that for a second.
Start collabing with somebody.
Yeah.
And find a different brand or another person kind of in your industry or with a similar following, and offer to do some form of a collaboration with them. For me, I'm making a video for a Kickstarter campaign for a deck of cards that's going to be released on May 1st. And that is turning into its whole other thing. But it's kind of an easy way to then get in front of a whole other audience that way. So
you just made me think of one thing, and I looked up really fast. Linda and I's podcast, Everything Life in Real Estate, we recently did a collab with David Morse and his All In podcast. And I just looked, and since we did that collab and we've been posting for the last 2 weeks, our accounts reached are up 635% since we cross collabed with each other.
nice.
So that was a good answer. Yeah. Curtis, anything you would say to like next level it?
I think that if you're just I'm speaking in terms of Instagram right now, Facebook, just like and interact with as many people as you can, and that will get you where you need to be.
Comment.
But in terms of Instagram, I think what Olivia said about the alt text, I think that's extremely important. And using your hashtags, like, and collabing with people, like tagging other local businesses in your stories, tagging other people in your stories, that way that those people want to share your post on their story, and then their people see your post and go to you and follow you, and all of that.
Yeah, love it. Caitlin?
I think too, a lot of what I do is look into the data on the back end of like, when's the actual best time to post for these people.
Yeah.
I'm grateful because my posting software automatically can calculate the optimal time to post for the people that I run. So really just pulling those stats on what day is the best time. And it differs too. It's really interesting. Even for Dana's account that I run, Instagram is actually later at night, which is better to post for them. And Facebook is earlier in the morning. So like dig into that stuff because the time you post is super important too. So that could help you.
Absolutely. Yep.
This app, Analyzer Plus, it will tell you everything you need to know about Instagram and when to post, and what content gets the most engagement.
Those of you that stayed till the end, you're be glad you stayed. Olivia?
Yes, knowing your analytics, like if your account isn't set to a business account, do that. It'll show you how many people are sending your stuff, how many people are saving it. That's important. You take advantage of promoting a post. It can be super cheap. You can pay $5 a day, but it's going to reach so many more people that way. Giveaways, if you're collabing with local coffee shops for gift cards, or it can be tiny. If you're making people follow you and like that post and send it to someone else or share it to their story, your engagement goes up again. And then I guess lastly, just the quality of your photos. No one wants to see a blurry photo. It doesn't have to be top notch, this huge fancy camera that took a photo, but just know like good lighting, make sure the picture's clear, not grainy, that kind of thing. Very simple.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Awesome. Okay. I just posed the question in the chat. If you would like a part 2, Abby had a great idea on more how-tos. And it looks like the answer is a resounding yes. So we might have to do it live on 30A in person with Olivia and all go down there and all go down.
Please do.
So my bestie Josh just sent me a text saying how great this was. And he said, social media is about connection. Find a way to connect and keep it simple. And I think that's a great note to end on, because that's very, very true. So Olivia, Caitlin, Curtis, Tyler, thank you all so much for sharing and for
Go
being.
follow me.
Yes. Oh, go follow them. We'll be sending links to all of their Instagram. So please, as a thank you, the best thing you can do is go follow them and interact. So thank you guys so much, and stay tuned, and we'll have to have a part 2 of this.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Thanks, Dana.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.